The Opera Theater of St. Louis has a reputation for new work and innovation. But they noticed a gradual shift in their audience.
Here at Opera Theater of St. Louis, we were seeing audiences in their 60s, in their 70s, particularly among our subscriber base. And we recognize that that is not sustainable in the long term without continuing to build the pipeline for future audiences.
Every year when I would talk to subscribers, I would have so many stories of them unable to come anymore for whatever reason. My gut said that we have a long-term problem. This is gonna keep happening and possibly get worse. And we didn't have the market research to back it up.
Let me go through some sales numbers. We are right now, year to date, ahead in revenue. But as we know has been the trend throughout, our volume is actually still slightly down.
An analysis of ticket sales confirmed their suspicions. Opera Theater of St. Louis was experiencing the leaky bucket phenomenon that many performing arts organizations are wrestling with.
We can't rely on the world premiere.
What we mean by the leaky bucket is that we have new audience members coming in, and we have current audience members going away. And unfortunately, we have more going away than refilling the bucket.
As you start to get an older audience aging out, you need to be building younger audiences.
Before they attempted to address the leaky bucket, Opera Theater of St. Louis first wanted to understand how people view opera.
There was a lot of research that showed us that the preconceived notions of opera were that it was elitist, that it was stuffy, that you had to be very wealthy to afford the tickets, that it was incredibly formal, and that it was in a language you don't understand. And all of those preconceived notions that were simply not true about this company. There was a perception gap between what they expected our company to be versus what we actually were and how we delivered our products and services.
Market research demonstrated Opera Theater of St. Louis needs to make potential audience members aware of its long-term commitment to diverse casting.
The diversity strategy at Opera Theater has been something that's ongoing. Audiences want to see the diversity on the stage as a marker of the contemporary nature of the opera.
Casting performers of different racial and ethnic backgrounds is critical to attracting Opera Theater of St. Louis's target audience.
If we cast a homogenous group of largely white singers, that is actually a potential barrier for young audiences to want to participate in coming.
For Opera Theater of St. Louis, part of fixing the leaky bucket meant considering which type of ticket buyer should be cultivated.
There's mixed thinking on subscribers and single tickets. What's gonna bring us more investment in the organization?
I think ultimately we do want to be growing our subscriber base because that is the bedrock of our audience here at Opera Theater. But we also have to move people through the pipeline.
Opera Theater of St. Louis has developed engagement activities which target specific ticket buyers. One of those activities, Young Friends, is aimed very explicitly at reaching younger audience members with the potential to become subscribers.
Our Young Friends series offers audience members under the age of 45 the opportunity to attend a performance at the opera, enjoy a pre-show brunch or dinner buffet for one low price.
I realized opera was way more accessible than I thought it would be. At first I thought I had to dust off my Italian from college, but turns out that I could just show up.
Seeing other young people and kind of dispelling the myth that this is an art form for an older generation really helps.
Young Friends has been the most successful in converting to subscribership. The subscriber numbers have grown exponentially.
I bought a season ticket, so I will be back several times.
We will continue to really focus on how we get those audience members who have been introduced to us through the Young Friends program to become multiple ticket buyers, subscribers, and even supporters of the company through donations, our annual fund, and other fundraising events that we do.
Opera tastings is one of Opera Theater of St. Louis's other major engagement activities. Its focus is recruiting single-ticket buyers by dispelling preconceived ideas about opera and attracting people throughout the city.
So opera tastings, we work with local chefs and restaurants, and they do a tasting menu that we pair with bite-sized opera samples.
We can focus on different demographic targets simply by where we locate the event and then who we work with in order to build an audience for that event.
What we've learned through focus groups is that opera tastings has been sort of the key program in bringing new audiences in. And so we've tried to expand that program and see what's the capacity, like how quickly can we fill that leaky bucket with opera tastings.
I think this is the best way to introduce people to opera. It's a low-pressure, low-stakes environment. You're usually with some friends or family.
I've never been to the opera. I love the intimate setting and the ability to be able to engage and to be able to hear. I think it makes a big difference.
People come to an opera tastings, they don't know much about opera. They learn enough to be enticed.
There's a certain idea that when you come to the opera, everything has to be rigid, in your seats, you can't move, you can't do anything. And this takes that and just completely gets rid of it. You get to have dinner, relax, and there just happens to be wonderful music happening around you.
This experience definitely have made me want to go and check out opera and kind of give it more credit than I might have previously.
The Opera Tastings program was designed so that we can very clearly track whether somebody who comes for the first time to an opera tastings then comes to a main performance in our theater, and then whether they come again the next year.
I had never been to the opera before the experience in opera tastings, and so it was a really easy way to be introduced to something that I didn't know that I'd be interested in.
Opera Theater of St. Louis is now considering how to make these activities financially sustainable.
In terms of evaluating programming and figuring out what is sustainable, I think we're looking at it sort of from two perspectives. One is, what is the data showing us? So what's most appealing to new audiences? And then on the other side, what is going to appeal to other donors?
Nothing is heard but the song of a bird.
We need to find further funding for opera tastings and keep that as a solid program. We've discovered in this that we need to keep that as a feeder. It is working. It's turning people onto the art form. It's turning people on to buying tickets. It's turning people on to becoming more invested in our organization.
Early data suggests preliminary success with the engagement activities. But it remains unclear whether this success will continue at the needed pace.
We're making progress, but the question is, can the progress be fast enough to account for the leak? Can we build the new audience at a rate to really sustain the kind of arts organization that we've had for the past half century?